No moi, it's joinin'. Mark Zuckerberg, the Zuck. Marcus Zuck Monster. Mark Mandan, the Zuck Machine. Mark Donald's Zuckin' on a Burger, or as most of us know him, the Lizard Man. If you have no idea about current world events, which is a category I definitely fall under, Mark Zuckerberg has recently undergone a grilling by the US Congress. I'm not even really sure what that means. My knowledge of this situation comes down to 5 minutes of Googling and various Zuck memes. So I thought, I am the perfect person to show you around this situation and have a quick glimpse at what the different media outlets are saying about Matthew Mark Zuckerberg Luke John. So here we have a video of Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg trying to define hate speech.
Mr. Zuckerberg, thanks for being here. At current pace, you're due to be done with first round of questioning by about 1 a.m., so congratulations.
We all enjoy poking a little fun at Marcus. He even managed to crack a smile. No, you didn't see it. Look a little bit closer. You can kind of see it. There! His software kicked in a little bit late, but he did get the message.
I think you guys have a hard challenge. I think regulation over time will have a hard challenge. And you're a private company, so you can make policies that may be less than First Amendment full spirit embracing. You may decide, or Facebook may decide, it needs to police a whole bunch of speech that I think America might be better off not having policed by one company that has a really big and powerful platform. Can you define hate speech?
Let's translate this a little bit. Americans, and I guess people in general, are very upfront about protecting their freedom of speech. At least in America, it is a right. And so we have a mild accusation being thrown out here that after some statements that Facebook has made, there's worry that Facebook may begin censoring too much of what users have to say in an attempt to control hate speech. As mentioned, Facebook is a private company, so they can kind of have a bit more control over how they monitor what people say, and this may be considered problematic due to the sheer size of Facebook, where a very large portion of humanity's conversations take place. And so Zuckerberg is being asked to define hate speech so some conclusion can be made about what type of speech they plan on censoring.
Senator, I think that this is a really hard question. And I think it's one of the reasons why we struggle with it.
I'm worried about the psychological categories around speech. You used language of safety and protection earlier. It's dangerous. 40% of Americans under age 35 tell pollsters they think the First Amendment is dangerous because you might use your freedom to say something that hurts somebody else's feelings. Can you imagine a world where you might decide that pro-lifers are prohibited from speaking about their abortion views on your content, on your platform?
I certainly would not want that to be the case. I don't think that that would fit any of the definitions of what we have. But I do generally agree with the point that you're making, which is especially having AI proactively look at content. I think that that's going to create massive questions for society about what obligations we want to require companies to fulfill.
What Zuckerberg has done here is avoid the question. We have a very weak, half-hearted answer where he kind of says, we're not really sure what the answer to that is, and it's something we need to think about. But I agree with you. This is the problem with the future of America. Which, by the way, if they are seriously considering AI targeting Facebook discussions, abort. Right now, the technology is not there. I'm telling you, from personal experience, Facebook is a big company. I'm sure they can fund some pretty good AI. But you would think that Google, of all companies, would be able to have some pretty top-tier AI as well, and Google's AI is currently in charge of deciding what content on YouTube is safe for advertisers, which I would argue is a very similar task to what the Facebook AI would be doing. It does a shocking job. 80% of my videos get flagged for being unfit for advertisers, and 100% of them, after being manually reviewed, are determined to be fit for advertisers. If this is the AI that's going to be in control of censoring people's discussions, abort right now. I am begging you.
That was about adults. You're a dad. I'd like to talk a little bit about social media addiction.
Ooh, that sly smile. I have done it. I have convinced the world. They'll think I'm a dad.
As a dad, do you worry about social media addiction as a problem for America's teens?
This is certainly something that I think any parent thinks about, is how much do you want your kids using technology? I view our responsibility as not just building services that people like, but building services that are good for people and good for society as well. So we study a lot of effects of well-being. What we find in general is that if you're using social media in order to build relationships, then that is associated with all of the long-term measures of well-being that you would intuitively think of. Long-term health, long-term happiness, long-term feeling connected, feeling less lonely. But if you're using the internet and social media primarily to just passively consume content and you're not engaging with other people, then it doesn't have those positive effects and it could be negative.
This is an interesting point because Zuckerberg is admitting that Facebook kind of has two streams of purpose. There is the social aspect where you connect with your friends, family, people you don't know, a sense of community, but then there's this other aspect, which is the aspect that everyone views negatively. Not connecting with anyone, just using it as some sort of vice to pass the time, or sometimes even disengage from a real life social scenario.
We're almost at time, so I want to ask you one more. Do social media companies hire consulting firms to help them figure out how to get more dopamine feedback loops so that people don't want to leave the platform?
No, Senator, that's not how we talk about this or how we set up our product teams. We want our products to be valuable to people, and if they're valuable, then people choose to use them.
That was genuinely interesting, because YouTube as a platform makes it very clear to us as creators that watch time and minutes per session on the website are the most important and valuable things. Our channels will literally live and die by not only engagement with your videos, but literally per minute spent watching your videos and videos on the platform in general. And that could be considered what Mark Zuckerberg just said. I mean, honestly, it's in every platform's best interest for them to make a product that people want to stay on and continue using. And it's just synonymous with making a good product, which is literally what Mark Zuckerberg just said.
No, Senator, that's not how we talk about this.
It seems like he admitted to it, but just sort of said, that's not the language we use. Let's shift gears a little bit and see what some of the news websites are saying. Facebook's Mark Zuckerberg testifies before US Congress on Cambridge Analytica data breach. This is interesting. Facebook will consider charging users a fee not to receive advertisements based on what they have shared with their friends on the social media platform. Mark Zuckerberg confirmed the contentious strategy to possibly make Facebook users pay for their privacy at today's Capitol Hill appearance. Are you actually considering having Facebook users pay for you not to use that information? Senator Nelson asked. In order to not run ads at all, we would need some kind of business model, Mr. Zuckerberg said. I'm going to have to pay you in order not to send me using my personal information, something that I don't want? Senator Nelson said. Yes, Senator, he replied. You consider my personally identifiable data the company's data and not my data. Is that it? He asked. To which he answered no. He said that while the ad-free product did not yet exist, the only way for Facebook to remain a viable business was to run advertisements or charge for use of the site, and steps back from his previous pledge that the platform would always be free. There will always be a version of Facebook that is free, Mark Zuckerberg said. Now, I'm on two sides about this. I think it's reasonable to offer a paid premium version of Facebook that doesn't have ads, but to go back on your word saying that Facebook will always be free is a little bit shifty. What I don't agree with is how Senator Nelson is framing this argument in a way that means I have to pay you for you not to use my data. Because he turns this into something that the average person can jump on. No, my data is my data. I shouldn't have to pay for you not to use it. But the truth is they're keeping that data regardless, and that's the real problem. Whether they use it for targeted advertisements or not, morally, I don't think it makes any difference. I think people really get over concerned about targeted advertisements. If a company can use information that they have already gathered about you in order to give you ads that will fit your buying habits, by all means, I would rather see ads for things I actually would care about. The part up for debate here is not targeted advertisements, and it's not the moral question of whether someone should have to pay not to receive those advertisements. It's the fact that they're keeping that data in the first place. A discussion can be made about that. But the flack he is copping here for something he hasn't done yet is a little bit extreme when companies such as Google and YouTube already do that. You can already pay for YouTube Red, a premium paid service that will emit targeted ads based on the private information they already hold of you and continue to hold, regardless of whether you're paying not to see the advertisements or not. But finally, I want to take a quick look at news.com.au, obviously an Australian news site. We can all agree that news websites are literally the worst websites on the internet. Far out, please. It is 2:30 in the morning, I have not heard a single sound for several hours, and you blast my ears off in the dead of night with your auto-playing video that I did not choose to watch. Look at this. Where's the stop? How do I stop this? I have no choice in this matter.
About what Facebook?
Just, honestly though, the seriousness of this topic cannot be overlooked. Let's wrap up with a very insightful headline that may bring some sort of closure, some sort of understanding, a conclusion that we can really sit on. Mark Zuckerberg's booster seat steals the show during Senate testimony. When Mark Zuckerberg fronted up on his long-awaited grilling, some viewers were more interested in what he was sitting on. Here is Mark Zuckerberg sitting on a booster seat. There it is, a close-up of the chair itself. Just Listen to this article. When Mark Zuckerberg took a seat in front of a room full of US senators, he must have felt like a kid being sent to the school principal's office. But when he got there, he realized there are 44 headmasters. The feeling probably wasn't helped by what he was sitting on. The Facebook CEO fronted US politicians for more than 5 hours this morning, getting grilled on the various shortcomings of his company. And many in the media and public sitting behind him couldn't help but poke fun at the fact that he did it from atop a booster seat. Zuckerberg takes a seat on a 4-inch cushion. Anyway, there is 5 hours of content of the lizard man being grilled, so we might as well leave it there, just touching the very surface of some of the questions being posed. Obviously, it's a bit upsetting that no one bothered to ask the real question, what planet are you from and what do you really want with us? But until then, we'll be left to wonder in the mystery.